Welcome to the Fearless Mindset, your home for motivation, empowerment and personal growth. Today we're going to be looking at the idea of ring theory, also known as how not to say the wrong thing. So have you ever been faced with a friend in need? You might be going through a bereavement, divorce or illness, and you have no idea what to say. Ring theory can help. Ring theory was originally created by Susan Silk when she was diagnosed with breast cancer as a way of helping support and understand people managing grief or illness. Her hope was that it would help people know what to do in a crisis. Susan noticed that along her journey with breast cancer, people close to her, though often well-intentioned, would vent or attempt to fix her situation for her. What Susan needed most when she was suffering was not their emotions about her experience, but rather their support. Susan realised that many people didn't know how to talk to her without overwhelming her. Grief and loss can change people, and they can make us act in ways that are not helpful to ourselves or to others. It was from here that the idea of ring theory was born. So the great thing about ring theory is that it works for a huge range of crises: medical, legal, financial, romantic, bereavement, or family. The idea is simple, but it's something few of us would think about until faced with grief or trauma. And unfortunately, we'll all be in this situation at one point or another. The centre of the ring is the person to whom the bereavement, illness, crises, or other distress is happening to. They are the patient, the widower, the dying, the orphaned, the redundant, the divorced, the ripped off. They are the injured party. So write the name of that person at the centre of the piece of paper, and then draw a circle around it. And in this ring, put the name of the person or the people very closest to them. So depending on their life stage, that might be their spouse, their parent or their child. Now draw the next ring, and in this ring put the next closest relationships. Keep going as many times as you need, almost like creating rings on a tree, with close friends and family at the centre, then more distant friends, relatives and colleagues, and finally at the edges, acquaintances, people you once worked with. Consider all the people who might be affected in peripheral ways, from immediate family and extended family, closest friends and other friends, neighbours and co-workers, to help decide your rings. When you've finished, you've created your ring. This can also be known as a kvetching order, meaning a complaining or griping hierarchy has now been established. It's important to know which ring you fall into because it changes the way you communicate with everyone else in the support network. Now here are the rules. The person in the centre ring can say anything they want to anyone, anywhere. They can complain, cry, gripe, grieve, moan, yell, and that is the only good part of being in the centre ring. They can be free with their emotions with anyone they choose. Of course, everyone else in the ring might feel these things too, and they can express them as well. But here's the really important bit. They can only say it to people in a larger ring. Comfort and support moves inward. Complaining, wrestling with your feelings, needing comfort moves outwards. This is a one-way street. Only support can travel inwards, needs only move outwards. When you're talking to a person in a ring smaller than yours, someone closer to the centre of the crises, the goal is to help, to comfort, to listen, not to give advice or to try to fix it. Don't try to compare their experience to the time you or someone you know lost their parent, their spouse, their friend, or their pet. Respect that everyone's experience is unique. Maybe you could offer a hug, to babysit, to bring some food. Be specific in what you can do. Saying, "Let me know if you need anything," is nice, but almost meaningless, and it can also feel like an added pressure to someone in crisis mode. Even small actions can make a difference. If you're in a larger circle than the person you're talking to, your job is to listen more than you speak. Listening is often more helpful than talking. If you're going to open your mouth, ask yourself if what you're about to say is likely to provide comfort and support. If it isn't, don't say it. Remember, your only job is to comfort, support and corroborate. When you're in a smaller circle in the conversation, you get to be comforted. A few years ago, one of my children was really ill in hospital. They were in intensive care for several weeks. Now, as you can imagine, this was a very difficult time for my husband and I. We received a lot of support generally from friends and family. However, one relative made a big effort. They came a long way to visit our child, but when they got there, they completely fell apart. They hadn't realised how hard it would be to look at them, how ill they'd be. They were freaked out by all of the wires and the monitors. Now, my husband ended up spending several hours comforting them at a time that was very, very difficult for us. Now, their feelings weren't wrong. They care about our child, but dumping them all over us was. You can say what you need to. Just be mindful of who you say it to, and don't increase the burden for people in a more central ring than you. Within grieving or suffering families, though, it isn't always to figure out or remember whose pain is at the centre of the rings. It can be very challenging to navigate who to support and who to turn to for support in a family. How can you tell who sits in which ring? Loss is loss. If you're in the inner rings, try to remember that those closest to you and your departed loved one are also hurting. Be gentle with each other's feelings. Try to think before you speak, especially in response to comments that seem hurtful or insensitive to your own loss. If you're not sure if the person you're about to unload to is in a bigger ring than you, err on the side of caution, offering only your condolences, a willingness to listen, or memories of the person. Remember that grief can come in waves. The initial primary loss or shock comes first. The illness, death, or other traumatic event that starts it all off. But after that, there might be waves of secondary loss as we deal with the loss of normalcy, hopes, plans, and expectations. This is true for all kinds of loss, from death to illness to divorce. These waves of loss can be worse on significant events like birthdays, celebrations, or holidays. The silk ring theory doesn't have an expiration date, but the further removed from the centre we are, the less painful the trauma will be for us to deal with. The sooner we start to heal from it, move on from it, maybe even forget about it, while those at the centre may still be experiencing wave after wave of suffering. By adopting a support in, dump out mentality, we can help keep the lines of communication open for as long as they are needed. Support moves into the centre of the circle. You dump all your feelings, your emotions, your stress out to the edges of the circle. It can be hard to find the right words to say, so try to form your words from a place of compassion and empathy. If you don't know what to say because you've never been through this tragedy, go with something simple. I have no idea what this is like for you, but I'm here to listen. I'm here to help. So, what do you do if everyone you know is in the middle? Crazy theory, but say there's this huge global crisis affecting everyone in some way. Who do you turn to for support without putting more of a burden onto someone already struggling? There isn't a rule book for how to collectively support global mental health. We're just winging it. What if we try to adopt Susan's theory for this global crisis, but acknowledge that the person, or country or neighbourhood, in the middle will change every few days or few minutes. This could be because they've lost their job, their school is closed, their friend is sick, but something has tipped them over the edge to be most in need right now. When that sufferer is in the middle, we allow them to dump out completely and without guilt, and we comfort in, always in. Maybe everyone in your house is struggling long term, but there's no big event that's tipped them automatically to the centre right now. So tonight at dinner, take turns going round the table being the centre for this moment, the centre of the crisis. Each member gets to vent and cry, talk about their losses and what they're particularly struggling with right now. without people, jobs, hobbies, expectations, freedom, normality, without anyone trying to fix it or interrupting. You could switch being the centre after 10 minutes. You could switch each night this week. Repeat until the circle of your household is complete. Ring theory isn't perfect. It's just a means of helping understand how you can lessen the burden on someone suffering. The one aspect I think this theory really misses is listening for cues from the centre ring. It might be that the person at the centre doesn't want to talk about their problems right now. They need to be distracted, and they just want to hear what's going on with you, your new job, the restaurant you tried last week, or just a really great book you'd recommend. In times of prolonged crisis, all we need is a little bit of normality, so keep an ear out for those cues as well. So in the time since I originally read this piece, I've thought of this theory many, many times. Where am I in the circle? What should I say, or what can I hope would be said to me? Who are the people in the circle I could comfort? Who are the people in the circle I can talk to when I feel overwhelmed? Sadly, we all get our turn at the centre of the ring at one time or another, so we will all experience life in the centre, the inner rings and the outer rings at different times. We will remember those relationships that supported us when we needed them most, and hopefully we can also learn from the people who give us the support we need in times of difficulty. At its very essence, ring theory is designed to protect the person struggling and their immediate support network from being responsible for the feelings and responses of people in larger circles. Sticking to the rules of comfort in, stress out is critical to the well-being of the person in the smaller circle. If everyone adopted this theory, comfort moves in, stress, worries, overwhelm moves out, it would be much easier to support each other through all kinds of grief and loss. By putting your own needs and emotions aside and following the comfort in, dump out rule, you're offering a steady and safe place for the person you care about to seek support. The way we communicate has a really powerful impact. So speak with sincerity and be mindful of the words you choose. Going from here today the most confident, capable, and kindest version of you. Have a great day.